So, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump has been making one headline after the other ever since he's taken oath. Now, frankly, I feel that we have been giving him or his statements way too much importance, but for what they're worth, his remarks have indeed triggered a hornet's nest in India. Today, he hit out at the previous Joe Biden administration, accusing it of interfering in elections in India. This is a day after he had defended the Department of Government Efficiency decision to cancel $21 million of fund for voter turnout in India. But more importantly, he has indicated that they, meaning USAID and its benefactors, were trying to get someone else elected. Listen in.
$21 million for voter turnout in India. What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India? Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody else elected. Wow, we ought to tell the Indian government, because when we hear that Russia spent about $2 in our country, it was a big deal, right? They took some internet ads for $2,000. This is a total breakthrough. $21 million for India elections.
So let's unpack what Donald Trump says. He claims that elements in the Biden administration tried to interfere elections in India in an effort to get someone else elected. But he doesn't specify when this happened. Is this then the year 2019 when there were general elections in India? Now that ties in with what Mike Benz, who is a former senior diplomat with the State Department of the United States, has been claiming, that biased elements in the United States foreign policy establishment waged a campaign against Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP in the run-up to the 2019 elections here. This is essentially the toolkit of USAID manipulation, according to Mike Benz. First, start a media campaign to link the Modi juggernaut in India with the rise of misinformation. Now, Mike Benz backs this up with citations of media reports, both Indian and abroad, painting India as a hotspot of misinformation. Then came step 2, where misinformation becomes a cue for the US aid. Let's continue our focus on step 2 on the graphics, where misinformation becomes a cue for USAID to step in and even pressurize Meta to limit WhatsApp forward. So if you remember, sometime in 2019, Meta or WhatsApp put a cap on the number of messages or the people you could send out in one go. This was to stop misinformation or pro-Modi propaganda. Finally, we come to step 3. United States think tanks then push to come up with censoring of nationalist governments such as Modi's, forcing tech giants like Google, like YouTube, like Twitter, like Meta, which includes Facebook and WhatsApp, to tighten content moderation. Sounds plausible? The only problem is that if all of this happened in the run-up to 2019 elections, all of this maneuvering was happening under Trump's nose when he was first president in the United States. Why did Donald Trump not act then when he was president? Here's another question. For at least 13 years, USAID has been operating in India. So why has it suddenly become a political hot potato? From the urban WAS, such as the WASH Alliance improving sanitation, to the PACE-D program driving clean energy, USAID has backed key initiatives in India, from health projects including past NFHS support, digital payment push. All of these are projects which USAID has been participating with the government, has been funding with the government here. So why is it suddenly a dirty word right now? All of this was going on for several years under the current Modi government. In fact, the aid from USAID coming to India rose a staggering $163 million a year after the pandemic. That's under the Biden administration. But now, after Elon Musk's department has struck it down, the Indian government is claiming that USAID is linked with George Soros, is doing tukde of India. Listen in.
USAID ने ओपन सोसाइटी फाउंडेशन जॉर्ज सोरोस को 5,000 करोड़ रुपया भारत को टुकड़े करने के लिए दिया या नहीं दिया? यूएसएड और जॉर्ज सोरोस की ओपन सोसाइटी फाउंडेशन ने राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन और राजीव गांधी चैरिटेबल ट्रस्ट को पैसा दिया कि नहीं दिया? ओवरसीज कांग्रेस के जो अध्यक्ष हैं सैम पित्रोदा साहब, उनको यूएसएड ने पैसा दिया या नहीं दिया? बांग्लादेश का जो पोषाहार है, जिसको कि यूनुस जो सीईओ है, वो जिसने कि बांग्लादेश में डेमोक्रेसी को बर्बाद किया, उसके साथ गांधी परिवार के क्या संबंध है? राजीव गांधी फाउंडेशन में जो विजय महाजन है, प्रधान जो उनकी संस्था है, उसको यूएसएड पैसा दे रही है कि नहीं दे रही है? वक्फ एक्ट को जो जकात फाउंडेशन विरोध कर रहा है, जिसको कांग्रेस पार्टी सपोर्ट कर रही है, वो उसको यूएसएड ने पैसा दिया कि नहीं दिया? कांग्रेस पार्टी यूएसएड और सोरोस फाउंडेशन के साथ मिलकर देश को टुकड़े टुकड़े करना चाहती है।
वो अमेरिका तक है, एड उनका है, वो किसको देना चाहते हैं किसको नहीं देना चाहते हैं वो फैसला हमारा कहाँ पे। और वैसे भी ना फॉरेन इंटरफेरेंस की फिलहाल कोई सबूत तो नज़र नहीं आ रही है। हमें तो ना पता है, इलेक्शन कमीशन को फिर इस चीज़ का जवाब देना होगा, क्या हमारे इलेक्शंस में कहीं पे फॉरेन इंटरफेरेंस हुआ है, क्योंकि अभी तक तो हम मान के चल रहे हैं कि हमारे इलेक्शन जो है फ्री और फेयर रहे हैं। अब अगर इस तरह की कोई बात आई है तो इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया इसमें सफाई दे।
So here are the questions I'm putting out tonight. If USAID interfered in the 2014 elections, did the BJP, which remember was then in opposition, benefit from it? If USAID meddled in 2019, which is what Mike Benz is saying, then why didn't Trump stop it in his first term as president? If USAID indeed is a scam, as Mr. Sanyal, who is the economic advisor to the Prime Minister, is claiming, why did the Modi government engage with it for so many years? Are all parties in India using external influence and external aid when it suits them and then decry it when it does not? And most importantly, if Donald Trump is playing to the galleries, which he always has in domestic politics, why are we in India still being influenced by what is happening there? Those are some of the questions which I'm going to put out to my guests at this point who are joining me. We have Dr. Dharinder Tayal, spokesperson of the BJP, Shivanand Hulyalkar, spokesperson of the Congress Party. I'm also being joined by Tehseen Poonawala, who's a political analyst, and Kishore Subramaniam, financial expert here. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you all for joining me. I know you have been waiting very patiently. I will beg your indulgence for 5 more minutes because I first want to get in a response from Ray Locker, who's a very senior journalist who's joining us from the United States, because I don't think Ray would want to be the part of a domestic debate here at this point. Ray, so quickly coming to you first. Thanks for joining us, number one. What exactly, in your assessment, was Donald Trump meaning when he says that US aid was being used to get someone else elected at the behest of the Biden administration, someone else elected in India here? Because he hasn't mentioned a time frame. And as we have discussed in my introduction here, the dates and the persons in power, both in the United States and India, don't really match up.
Well, first of all, Donald Trump often doesn't know what he's talking about. Second, he's a liar. He told more than 30,000 lies during his first term as president. That's been documented by a number of reports, and he's lying now. And this whole Department of Government Efficiency investigation of USAID is bogus. It shouldn't be happening. Elon Musk and his minions have no business going in there. And you're right. If this happened in 2019, he was president. So what's he talking about? I mean, I've reviewed dozens, if not hundreds, of USAID contracts over the course of my career. You can find these records online very easily. They've been reviewed by the Government Accountability Office to decide whether they're effective or not. In many cases, they're not really effective, particularly those that were in like war areas like Afghanistan. So I know what to look for here. I don't know what these guys are talking about. They have no transparency. Now Trump is coming up with this. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's doing it to stir up trouble because that's what he does. And guess what? People are biting on it. You know, you saw that debate that you just showed where people in the Lok Sabha are complaining about election interference. Prove it. There is no proof. So I find this very frustrating as an American who's been involved in government and politics for a long time. We have these people just talking about all sorts of crazy stuff with no proof at all.
So, Ray Locker, just to sum up what you're saying that, I mean, it's a fact that Donald Trump has been known to be economical with the truth. That's a charitable thing to be said for him. And you're also saying that Donald Trump has a habit, especially in the second term of his presidency, in the months or so he has taken charge, of continuously playing to the domestic galleries. In your assessment, then, is India doing, or are political parties in India doing a grave misstep by taking his words literally and so seriously and using that to influence their own, and having their own domestic politics influenced?
Absolutely. I mean, you know who you're dealing with. You know, it's not going to work out well for you to take his word with no proof and get all spun up about what's going on, what he's saying, and try to score some, daily news cycle political advantage with your rivals, whether in Congress or the BJP or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. It's not productive. And so you're getting all worked up because somebody who is a liar is telling you something false.
All right, Ray Locker, thank you so much for joining us. I think it's early morning there in the United States. Appreciate you taking your time out and joining us with your perspectives. Let's now, having gotten the sense from the United States, let's now put it across to my guests who are with me at this point. Dr. Dharinder Tayal, you heard what Ray has to say. He's a senior journalist based in the United States. If Donald Trump is known to fudge around with the truth often at this point, and we know that he's playing to the galleries, he's trying to ride the wave of populism very highly, have we not jumped the bait? We don't know what exactly he was referring to, which year he was talking about when he said that USAID was trying to get someone else elected. Why are we so keen to take him at face value and then make it a divisive issue in our own politics?
Thank you, Ritanshu, for having me on the show. I think the easiest escape route for anybody would have been to say that the source of the information is a lie. Even Jairam Ramesh has come forward and said this is nonsensical. And I'm sure by tomorrow morning, as Congress normally does, they will say we distance ourselves from this statement. We are not with Jairam Ramesh. That is normal. That has been happening all the time. So let's forget about that. Now, the question that you have asked, we don't know what year is he talking about, and he's lying. Number one, he could not be lying because this is money he's talking about, and he's saying this money was going to go. So obviously the money is documented somewhere. It cannot be rhetoric. Number one. Number two is he's saying we have to tell the government. Now, when he says we have to tell the government, so is he going to tell the government that, look, this money we were giving to you? It is very obvious where the money was going. Now, if we want proof of where this money has been going, and it is the Congress which has been benefiting, let me take you there. One, in 2013, and remember 2013, who was in power? In 2013, $500,000 were given for this purpose to CEPPS. Okay, and 2013, who was there? People who were thinking they're going to lose, they needed the money. Now, again, to establish that, 2012, an MOU was signed between the EC Election Commission and IFES. And Qureshi signed it. And who was Mr. Qureshi, who later went to the extent of saying when Mr. Modi met the Brazilian chief, and who later turned out to be COVID positive, he was wishing that Modi would also turn COVID positive. So that should tell you where this lies. But let us get to more factual positions. Let us get to who is funding USAID, right? Who is one of the people funding USAID? George Soros funds Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation gives money to USAID. USAID gives money to IFES. IFES gives money to CEPPS. And CEPPS website suddenly has disappeared. Okay? Now, the same George Soros...
No, but that's...
Just a minute. Let me just complete this point. The same George Soros gives money to Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. He gives money to FDLAP, who's the co-chair of FDLAP, Sonia Gandhi. Now, you know where the money is going. There is no doubt about that. I have linked the...
No, but there are two questions. Again, Doctor...
Yeah.
Okay, you have linked the chronology, you're saying, and I'll get the congressperson to respond, but Dr. Tayal, I must still insist, before I go to the congressperson, there are still two things which don't make sense to me. If Donald Trump's words are to be taken literally, he said $21 million was spent to get someone else elected. If this was referring to 2013, someone else would mean someone not in power then, which would then mean the BJP. So it doesn't add up. Secondly, also doesn't add up is the fact that USAID has been collaborating. Okay. I mean, yes, you did, but I answered that. Fair enough. You have answered that.
Why are we missing out the next line? The next line, he is saying we need to tell the Indian government. So tell the Indian government what? That the money was going to you. Right. So why are we reading it only the first line and leaving the second one?
Bring in... No, we are running. We need to tell the Indian government this is a breakthrough. I'm correct. Shivanand Holyakar. Now, Mike Benz's testimony, which is put out in the media, is quite telling because he gives a sequence of events. He is pointing out articles in 2019 in which he says that there were several articles from Time, The Week, in Indian websites like Quads, etc., which come out again and again saying that there is a misinformation pandemic in India, we need to act here. And right on cue, misinformation, Shivanand Hulyalkar, was a cue word for the agencies such as USAID, for US think tanks to jump in and then put pressure, and there was action. WhatsApp was stopped from mass forwarding, WhatsApp had to come in and stop people from mass forwarding texts. Is this not an indication of foreign interference from big tech and foreign think tank and agencies into the Indian electoral process? Let's forget for a second who was going to win, who was being enabled to win. But the fact still remains that this is an insider account by Mike Benz, which makes it very clear that there was an attempt to influence our elections. Shivanand Hulyalkar, I hope you can hear me. The point I'm trying to make is the toolkit which was highlighted by Mike Benz shows very clearly that there was a concerted effort by international media, by US think tanks and US aid to try and influence elections in 2019. Is that not a matter of concern? All right, I think we are having problems connecting with that. Let me put that question across to Tehseen because I'm sure Tehseen has heard that. Tehseen, irrespective of who was in power in 2019 and who would have been the someone else, this is a concerning development. Will you not go by that?
I would. I just hope the Congress spokesperson can hear right now if he can. If he can't, I will answer it. I would have liked the Congress to answer it. I have a certain grey point to make. So just check if the Congress spokesperson can hear it because he seems to be hearing your question and then suddenly losing.
No, we are trying. I mean, I asked him the question twice. I don't think he can hear us. So,
but he was nodding.
You have to indulge me, Tehseen, by giving us your 30 cents before he connects that. Yeah,
I'm sure. So there are two aspects to this. Let us, for one, accept the BJP and President Trump's issue. Then listen, this foreign aid was in lieu of helping the Congress win. That's what the BJP spokesperson said on the issue. Let's accept this. If this is true, that means the elections are rigged. Now, if elections are rigged, who's responsible? Certainly can't be the Congress, has to be the Election Commission of India. But the Election Commission of India has regularly come on Mirror Now and your sister channel Times Now and said elections in India are the freest, the fairest. Nobody can manipulate elections. So either Sri Rajiv Kumarji, who is brilliant in Shairi, is lying, or the government is lying. Now they should sort this out. If elections are manipulated, if they can be cheated, if there is foreign interference, if there is other interference, then who's responsible for it? Is it the opposition or the government? Was the government sleeping? But let's come to the core question that you asked. And the core question is simply this. This entire money transaction seems to happen at a period of 2013. Now, I, for one, very firmly believe, and this is where it gets gray, that the entire IAC movement led by Anna Hazare was funded by elements that were anti-India. In fact, I told a number of Congress leaders, in my book, I will name them, that you must look into this. But Congress being Congress, unlike the BJP, never looked at that angle. So I'm very categorical about it. And the regime change was achieved. The Congress lost power. Now we come into the first tenure of President Donald Trump, 2016 onwards until 2020. And most of this money seems to be flowing out during that period as well. So was President Trump either not looking vigilant at money that was going in a friendly nation, or was he also involved in this? I don't believe President Trump was involved in this. So then is he not liable? Number two, from 2014 right until now, almost 11 years, Prime Minister Modi has been Prime Minister. If there has been any such money interference that is coming, money that's coming that's illegal or interference, what has the government done? Has it taken it up? Or were they as clueless as President Trump was clueless in his first tenure? Which now comes to the major part of that funding, which happened post-2019. Just remind me, who was the Prime Minister post-2019? Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Once again, were they clueless? Was this some sort of a conspiracy? Did the Prime Minister take it up and President Joe Biden hosted our Prime Minister wonderfully at the White House? So all of these are very serious issues. It's easy to dumb it down and make it a black versus white issue, but none of the questions that are there add up. 2 + 2 can only be 4. 2 plus 2 in philosophically can be 22. 2 plus 2 philosophically can be 222, but mathematically it has to be 4. We need logical answers, not philosophical answers.
Kishore Subramaniam, that ties into the next question which I was asking in this point. What doesn't add up? Either what Tehsir is saying is that either Narendra Modi's government for the last 10 years was unaware of the extent to which USAID was meddling and interfering and interrupting our election process, or they were aware of USAID's presence, and that's the point. They did collaborate on net zero railways, they did collaborate on the Urban Wash Alliance, they did collaborate on the PACE-D program. The USAID was also a very key force multiplier in the push to have digital payments done. At that point, the government of the day did not see USAID as this big nefarious George Soros for influence trying to disrupt elections. It saw it as a benevolent agency and allowed USAID to function. Now suddenly Donald Trump has caused questions to play for his own political galleries, and now suddenly retrospectively we're looking at USAID being something that is trying to destabilize the country. It doesn't add up, does it?
Okay, good evening to all my panelists, and let me first put some points. On the lighter vein, the Congress spokesperson couldn't hear your question because Congress generally doesn't hear the truth. So let's leave that aside. But talking about my friend Tehsir Poonawala ji, I think his articulation skill is good enough where he's able to tell that, I think this happened in 2013. Even Donald Trump doesn't know when it happened, but Tehsir seems to know that it happened sort of in 2013. So let me put my points very clearly. I request you, the panelists, and you to hear me out on my points. Point number one, when Donald Trump, the president of America, is saying we should inform the government of India that somebody else was being tried to be established or somebody else was being tried to be elected, then obviously it is not the BJP. That's point number one. Point number two, I have a very simple analogy. I think Tehsir gave a lot of philosophical view on the whole point, but let me give a simple analogy. Let's say I'm a professional cricketer like Sachin and you are a street cricketer. Who would somebody influence, Sachin or the ordinary street cricketer? Between BJP and Congress, Tehsir himself knows that only BJP can win and Congress cannot win. So if somebody has to be influenced and put in place and the election has to be changed, the color and the dynamics has to be changed, then it has to be against BJP and not for BJP. BJP, I don't think politically needs money or aid money to even change its election because Congress does enough damage to itself and distancing with Sam Petrodas and group to spoil its chances. Having said that, none of us here factually, I agree with Tehsir on one thing, that factually we need logical answers and the trail of the money has to be done, has to be found out. Who can find the trail of the money? Government of India, maybe, but US government definitely can find the trail of the money. But having said that, you should also remember one thing. George Soros and elements have consistently attacked the Indian establishment, whether it is a businessman like Adani or the Indian government. And let us take simple examples. You read any headline of NYC and you would know what it speaks. Apparently, there were even news and rumors and proofs that they were even appointing journalists who were supposed to be anti-Modi. So let us be very clear about the fact of the matter. Whether the Modi government or the BJP was beneficiary to the programs, yes. Do not forget the fact of the matter that if an organization wants to do culpable stuff which are criminal in nature or which are very, very shadow in nature, you need to understand the fact of the matter that they won't do it in open. They will come under the name of aid. Why is Doge today wanting to switch off USAID? Not because it funds humanitarian causes, healthcare and medical expense and a lot of things, but for the fact of the matter that under the garb of humanitarian expenses, they fund NGOs across the world for destabilization, and let's not even get there on what US can. So the point is not about America. The point is that it is wasteful expenditure as far as Trump is concerned.
No. According to you, when has this process, Kishore Subramaniam, let's try and let's pretend that I'm not understanding your argument. I am, but let's make it. When do you think this process of influencing has happened? What time period? Which election?
So I can only second guess as much as you can, but my understanding or my assumption, because Tehsir quickly drifted and shifted this to Anna Hazare. I don't think so that USAID has to be be foolish to even fund Arvind Kejriwal for that matter. But for my understanding, I have a presumptive assumption that 2019 is when they would have tried to influence, because that was a very important pivotal point. Because once BJP won
So
for
then
the
tell
second
me,
year,
okay,
the
so
third term
yes.
was inevitable, and I think that is the period. 2013,
So tell
19.
me something, Kishore Subramaniam. Okay, so tell me something, Kishore Subramaniam. If in 2019 this attempt to influence was happening, why did Donald Trump not stop him then? He was already in the White House even then.
Okay, so please understand that since he was the president in 2019, between 16 and 20, it doesn't mean that he has a finger on every single button that's going out. Today, he has been elected on the pitch and the elevator pitch of Doge, and with Elon Musk supporting, I think they are going aggressive to find out that the debt ballooning, the fiscal deficit of America has ballooned beyond capability and control, and that's where they're putting their finger, and then they are finding out. As a president or a prime minister, don't tell me that every single expense of every single department is known to you. So probably the investigation is happening now. It's come out in open and to the light now. Congress, Mr. Pawan Khera made a statement today. Do you see that? So it is that it has happened in 2013 and probably the opposition used it. Mr. Pawan Khera, let me clarify. You don't need USAID for BJP to win. For Congress to lose, all that it requires is Congress members. That's good enough.
No, okay. I somehow find this again. I'm not defending the Congress party necessarily. Unfortunately, I can assure you we have genuine audio problems connecting to our Congress guest here, which is why we are not able to get him at this point. But I don't understand either. The Congress is absolutely inept and incapable party which can't find election on itself, or this is this supervillain force which is connecting with every other international force there is in the world to try and defeat India. One out of the two. Anyway, Tehseen, come in and you want, and after that I'll go to Dr. Dharindatal.
Kishore Bhai is a wonderful, wonderful speaker. He said he's a financial expert. So he said the art of doing everything without really giving out anything. Listen, let's just focus on 2024 general elections. Let's focus on that because that is the contention. Let's look at that. So approximately $21 million have come in USAID, which is a very small change compared to the $16.3 billion it cost to conduct elections in India in 2024 and a voter turnout or an eligible voter turnout of 900 million. How does 21 million affect when your elections cost $16 billion? What can 21 million do? Simply the scale doesn't add up. Number two, you can't just make vague statements that money came in. How did this money came in? How was it routed? How was it used? How was it used to influence elections? What was the election commission doing? What were other agencies doing? What were government organizations doing? Surely it isn't Mr. Trump or President Trump or Mr. Musk's case that this money came in cash. They didn't do hawala. Whatever this route was, however it was spent, there has to be a trail. It can't be without a trail. Making general observations is fine. The scale doesn't add. The numbers don't match. The how it happened does not match. And ultimately, the BJP still won an election. Now, why is it the BJP's contention that voter turnout, increased voter turnout, means that the BJP will lose? This is the BJP saying that this was to make the BJP lose. And this was specifically for increased voter turnout, which means if increased voter turnout makes the BJP loses, and BJP is governing most of the states, is it now the BJP's contention that police in those states, despite an independent election commission, stop the weak, stop those marginalized from voting from the BJP, and therefore this money was used to get the weak and the marginalized come out? Because somebody as privileged as me or as privileged as Kishore Bhai will never be able to be stopped. So was it the weak and the marginalized who generally vote for the opposition and not the BJP? Was it that they were being stopped and this money played a spanner in their growth to up ki baar 400 par? So the BJP is completely contradicting itself, but it still doesn't answer the fundamental question. Let's believe everything President Trump is saying is true. Who was the prime minister from 2014 onwards? Why does the prime minister not know that this was happening? That is the fundamental question.
Okay, I've been told that we have Mr. Shivanand Holyalkar on the phone line at this point. Shivanandji, can you hear me? Let me first check with that.
Hello.
Shivanandji, can you hear me? This is Ritangshu from Mirror Now. All right, I think there seems to be an issue at this point, and I think we'll have to give it up at this point, unfortunately. But Dr. Dharinder Tayal, you wanted to come in, and I'll go back to Kishore Subramaniam.
Okay, so one thing, I mean, Tassim, though he has been saying, let's not get philosophical and remain logical, he has been philosophical. And in the first round and in the second round, I must say he's been cute. So when he says...
You are the only man who's called me cute on national TV. I promise you.
But Tessin, you should send a bouquet to him for that.
I'll take him out for dinner.
He turns out and says this money was supposed to come in for increased voter participation. So how is increased voter participation going to do any harm? So that is a cute assumption. That is why I said cute, because that's a cute assumption that the money came in under this head and was used for that head. Right? Now, the second thing he says, how does the money come in? Now, let me give you an example. He referred to one. How does the money come in? George Soros funds Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation funds an organization called Kabir. Kabir is owned by Mr. Kejriwal and Mr. Sisodia. Where does that money ostensibly go? To create Aam Aadmi Party. That is how money flows. So it is a well-known fact. $1.72 lakh came in, then $1.98 lakh came in, and the same Ford Foundation gave about $5 lakh to Teesta Setalwar to keep pushing Modi till Supreme Court exonerated him. So that is the way money comes in. Now, it is nothing new for the Congress to appeal or get money from abroad or appeal to abroad or countries abroad. For example, the worst case known to everybody, Mani Shankar Iyer goes to Pakistan and says, please help me oust Modi, which means they are even willing to pal up with Pakistan. Then they go off to China to sign an MOU with China that please save our government because communists are taking back their support from our government, save our government, we'll do whatever you say. Then the Volcker report has come in, which is Mr. Natwar Singh's own book, which has stated that they took money from Saddam Hussein.
So then, Dr. Dharinder Tayal,
yeah.
Dr. Dharinder Tayal, then should these are very serious allegations which the BJP is making here. I will give hand. These are very serious allegations, and if the Congress party is indeed guilty, or Congress leaders are indeed guilty of getting support from Pakistan, from China, from the United States, then an investigation needs to be taken accordingly. My point is, and I'll come to Kishore Subramanian after that, my point is, as we go out from Dale Locker, Donald Trump's testimony is too specious and too flimsy for us to be basing national debates around, because A, the timeline does not match. Mike Pence himself says that I don't know what Donald Trump was doing in 2019, and I do not buy the argument that Donald Trump in 30 days of power in second two is more powerful than he was after being in office for 3.5 years in term one.
Where did
that is my entire argument, and that is what the Congress is saying. That is what Jairam Ramesh has tweeted today. Come out with a white paper. We'll get to know exactly who has been dealing with USAID, how much money has been coming in from USAID, for what particular purpose, and the doodh ka doodh and pani ka pani will happen. Why doesn't the BJP agree to that demand, Dr. Tayal?
Ritanshu, where did 2019 come in? I told you, even in 2013, $500,000 came in for this purpose. So I don't know where conveniently we've assumed 2019 and where did it come from?
Okay.
2013, $500,000 came in.
That's my point. 2019 is an assumption going by Mike Pence's statement. That's also what Kishore Subramaniam is guessing. But again, if you're saying 2013, then how does someone else come to where the Donald Trump statement that he wanted to get? I mean, we're going on in circles. I'm trying to say is that we don't know what numbers.
Trump is not stopping the 2013 payment today. He is stopping the 2025 payment today. So which is when it is going to somebody else.
Okay.
I mean, we are only let us not trying to confuse the very clear issue.
No, but 20. Okay, fair enough. Kishore Subramanian wanted to make a point. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to rebut Tessin on one point. He said that the money has come in for voter turnout. Now, this is the fundamental wrong assumption. See, jo chor hota hai, he does not give you a text that main actually chori karne ke liye aa raha hu. It is like you caught the thief and the robber at the police station and you say, no, the thief actually gave me a WhatsApp saying that he came at 12 p.m. You don't believe the thief. That's a scammed organization. If they are saying they have paid money for voter turnout, how the damn hell that you or me know that it is for voter turnout? So assumption on what they are saying in itself is fundamentally flawed. So that's my rebuttal to Tehseen on understanding that how can voter turnout increase or help the BJP. So that's a fundamental flawed assumption. The second important point, whether it is 2013, 19, 25, the timelines are not out. As Jairam Ramesh claims that if there is a white paper, which I don't think so will come, or if at all it comes, I think the only people who are going to suffer is the opposition, because you have to only change the tide or move the labels in a manner for which it should suit the party which is weak. All of us on the channel, including my brother Tehseen, knows that Congress has been on a weaker wicket from 2013 and probably till 2043. So there is no way that you will influence a stronger party to win the election. That's just illogical by the fundamental flaw. Until and unless USAID is so novice and they don't understand global geopolitics.
All right, Tehseen Poonawalla, I think you will have the last word at this point. The track record, as the BJP has pointed out, does indicate, especially with the statements from people like Manishankar Ayans at this point, that if there's one party which will be willing to reach out to international agencies and international organizations for help and assistance, it will be the Congress party, because currently for the last 10 years, it has been the clear political underdog.
On a lighter note, I do vote for the Congress and I'm a Congress supporter. But on a lighter note, since both my fellow panelists are from South India, if Manishankar Ayar can help himself, I think that itself will be privilege enough and help the Congress by not giving interviews. So I think that will help the Congress. But that's on a lighter note. Let's focus on this issue at hand. Let's assume that the money was to dislodge the BJP and Prime Minister Modi. Let's go by that. So either the monies come in prior to the elections, which makes complete sense. Now, however the money came in, through whichever foundation, because what my esteemed panelist from the BJP said was, look, this came in and that's how Kejriwal set up the Aam Aadmi Party, irrespective of all of that. However, the money is flowing in now from 2019 onwards or 2014 onwards is the responsibility of the government. NGOs have certain norms, as we all know. These norms have been tightened post 2014. We've done several stories on Mirror now about it. So how is this money going undetected? The only example my BJP friend gave us of the Aam Aadmi Party being set up, which happened pro 2014, which is exactly what I'm alluding to. That is why the regime changed. Anything else is the government's responsibility, and anything else that is happening during elections is the Election Commission's responsibility. By my own friend Kishore, he's saying the Congress is a weak party, comparing the Congress to a gully cricket player versus a Sachin Tendulkar. Maybe that's perhaps. So how is the Congress, which can't save its own elections or win a second election in a row in any state, going to influence the Election Commission of India? That does not add up. The only beneficiary of this seems to be the BJP. Now, if it's not the BJP and it's the Aam Aadmi Party, was that IAC movement, which I believe very firmly to dislodge the Congress with certain elements funded from abroad. I believe this extremely firmly. So let that be investigated. I agree with what Jairam Ramesh said, except it should not be a white paper, it should be a black paper.
30 seconds.
Right. I would just say one thing, that the fact still shows.
I'll
30 seconds, Kishore.
30 seconds. One, Tehseen, you owe a bouquet to the BJP spokesperson for calling you cute on national television. That's point number one. Point number two, we are going around in circles. None of us have evidence. Let the paper come out, whether it is white, black, blue, or color of Congress flag, will be evidently known. But by the way, despite all this, we had lovely time debating with you.
And all I'm saying is that this paper, if this realization that there is an effort to influence should not have come from Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It is a fact that USAID's funding has shot up phenomenally during Biden's presidency in the post-pandemic years. If there was something fishy, it's our government, our country, which should have detected it. Thank you so much for joining me at this point, Dr. Dharinder Tayal, Tehseen Poonawalla. I'm afraid, unfortunately, it became a bit of a handicap situation at this point here. But thank you so much for very bravely dealing with the questions all our panelists had as well. And also thank you, Kishore Subramaniamji, for joining us. It's time for a short break. The Urban Debate continues in Mirror now. Stay tuned.